Hey guys, welcome to the Simplify Your Life podcast. It's Coach Simona and I'm glad you decided to tune in. What's up guys? In today's episode we have a very special guest. She's a lifestyle design coach and business mentor who specializes in helping multi-passionate millennial women connect deeply to self, curate a dreamy life, and sustainably launch their brand and business online. Welcome, Taylor Lu. Hi, Taylor. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
First, I want to say that I love what you're doing, and I'm so excited to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and describe your Dreamcatcher program for our podcast listeners?
Yeah, so I am a lifestyle design coach and business mentor for multi-passionate millennial women. I've been doing this for about 2 years now, and I'm really passionate about helping women to create an intimate relationship with self, to design a dreamy life, and to launch their brand and business online. So that's in a nutshell what I do, what I'm passionate about. And my Dreamcatcher Immersion program is my signature group program that I also created 2 years ago and launched the first time 2 years ago. And I'm now on the 6th round of that. And that is basically just a very comprehensive life, brand, and business accelerator program. And it's a 6-month-long program.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, let's go back to the beginning. I'm sure there are lots of wonderful women out there listening to this podcast episode and wondering whether or not they should start their own businesses or just needing a little push to take the first step. So let's talk a little bit about your journey.
All right.
How did you decide to become an entrepreneur?
So both of my parents were actually entrepreneurs, and so it kind of was always in the back of my mind. But when I graduated from college in 2014, I kind of just wasn't finding anything out there, any job titles out there that really seemed to be a good fit. And so when I kind of came up against a wall there, along with my parents' encouragement, I decided to just go all in and start my own business right off the bat, which at that time was a social media agency.
Wow, that was really interesting. And it sounds pretty familiar to me as well. I kind of have a similar story to yours.
Really? You have a similar journey?
Yeah, absolutely. What are some limiting beliefs that you had to overcome along the way? Because I'm sure we all have them.
Yeah, so I think the biggest one for me, and this is getting a little bit vulnerable, but growing up, I grew up in a wealthy family. And a pattern that I uncovered in my journey is I had a lot of guilt around money and feeling guilty because I did, have a lot growing up. And there was a limiting belief that existed that really held me back in terms of feeling like I didn't deserve to be able to create any more wealth for myself, since I already started out like that in the beginning, and that other people deserve that more. And so that was a really big journey for me. And of course, that's programming that came from my parents and came from other people around me when I was growing up. But I had to really separate myself and what I believed in my own self-worth in order to be able to create abundance in my life.
Oh my God, I just had the chills. It was really inspiring.
Thank you. That was that's probably, of course, there are so many limiting beliefs that you have to work through as an entrepreneur as you go from level to level. But for me, that was really the big one that I had to look at in the eyes and get really honest with myself and do the work to reprogram that belief that was there.
Love it. Now that got me curious. Do you have any habits or lifestyle hacks that help you operate at your best? And can you share them with us?
Yeah, I have a lot actually. So I'll have to just pick a few of my favorites because that's a big part of what I teach. I have a whole lifestyle design section of my programs, and I just think it makes life so much more fun when you feel like you can really optimize your life on a day-to-day basis. So
Yeah, absolutely.
a big kind of unexpected one that I love to share with people is so I'm really big into masculine and feminine energy and kind of learning how to dance with both of those energy on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I help really that really gets me into my feminine is a lot of sensory stimulation. So what I mean by that is at my desk, I have all sorts of fun things. Like I have spa sprays, I have a rainbow twirler, which is like this shiny, shimmery twirler thing. I have really pretty pens and paper and candles and just all sorts of things that really help me to stay grounded in the present, in my body, even when I'm doing a lot of like hard masculine tasks. So that's a fun one because I think that's something that people kind of underestimate. And I think the reason why that's so powerful for me is because it keeps my energy really steady. Like that's the way that I use to not get burnt out, as well as like taking breaks throughout the day. And I love to use the Pomodoro method. I don't know if you're familiar with that or your listeners are familiar with that, but
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. But please tell us more about it for our podcast listeners who are not familiar.
okay, yeah. So the Pomodoro method is basically the idea of doing usually around 25 to 30 minutes of focused work and then taking a 5-minute break and then doing another block of focused work, taking another break, another block, and then you get a longer break. And what's nice about this is because, and something that really helps me make this work for me is that during that 25, 30 minutes of focused work, I actually like throw my phone across the room. It's really dramatic. I don't know why I'm so dramatic about it, but I like throw my phone like across the room and it sits in the chair that's like well out of my reach. And I'm just like really dialed in and focused for those 25 minutes. And usually I'm referring to my to-do list and kind of checking things off. I'll kind of say, okay, in this block, I'm working on 1 and 2 priorities on my to-do list right now. And then when I get those checked off, then you get a 5-minute break after that focused period of time. And usually I'll meditate or I will like smell, like sniff my essential oils that I have at my desk, kind of get into that sensory, get into my body, and then get back into the work. So that's that's a system that has been working really well for me for a few years now. And then the other one I'll touch on quickly that I think is a big one, I have developed a planning system, the TLC planning system, Taylor Lou Coaching, and I am just obsessed with it. And the main things when it comes to that planning system is really the night before, creating your to-do list the night before, prioritizing that to-do list, and then actually plugging those to-do into your calendar. So
wow, that's awesome.
usually
I love
I'm
it.
yeah, it's really, really effective and simple. And I'm usually I have a paper planner that I use called the Daily Greatness Journal. And so I will actually like draw brackets around like what are the tasks that I'm doing between 12 and 1. So not only do I have the appointments, but I also have exactly when I'm doing what, which I find just like makes me feel so on top of things, so organized and so clear about what I'm doing each and every day.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, actually. Can you tell me if you could start your business all over again, would you do it differently?
That's such a hard question because I think that everything that I did was ultimately leading towards a greater purpose, a greater mission, and everything. I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah, me
I
too.
don't know if I would. I think just from a purely logical standpoint, I think if I had to do anything differently, it would be to really get more support in those beginning days. because I kind of had this chip on my shoulder of like, I'm going to do this all myself. I don't need any help. And it was basically like
Same.
me and the internet for a while. So I think, and then when I started investing in coaches and communities of people who are doing a similar thing, that's when I saw myself really, really quickly up level and have these kind of quantum leaps happening.
Oh my God, that is so true. Having a coach really changes everything, and you can achieve much more if you have someone to rely on and someone to support you.
Absolutely.
What is the greatest lesson you have learned as a female entrepreneur?
I think it is learning how to channel that really beautiful divine feminine energy that has a lot of strength and intuition in a way that's very different than what we see success looking like in the larger society. There's a lot of emphasis on a masculine form of success. And
I agree on that.
Yeah, and I think as a female business owner, you're able to kind of like set a new standard and really bring in the emotional connection, the nurturing energy, the intuition, and use that to create something amazing with, in my opinion, with much more ease, because we don't have to hustle as much to get similar results.
Absolutely. Can you tell our podcast listeners, who are mostly women, how can they cultivate their feminine energy?
Great question. So
thank you.
I have two things that I normally recommend to get started with this. One is to incorporate more soulful feminine routines in your life. So what I mean by that is anything that falls kind of in that category of being, of nurturing, of creativity, of intuition. So a great example would be journaling. A great example would be dancing, movement, the sensory stimulation, all of that I mentioned, creating a morning and evening routine with maybe it's spiritual rituals or maybe it's reading or whatever that looks like. Just really being with yourself is a big part of the feminine and really channeling that divine feminine. Because a lot of, something I forgot to mention is a lot of feminine energy has to do with receiving versus like going out and getting.
Yeah.
So the more that we can kind of sit back and cultivate our own energy and intentionally put out, certain vibes and energy into the world, that's when we're going to receive a lot of amazing opportunities without having to go out and get it. So that's a big part. So that's one thing you can do, is this just specific rituals that feel really fun and nurturing. And then the other thing that you can do is you can do something called, and I don't quite have a word that I love for this yet, but essentially you can take any masculine task, which again is the doing, and you can feminize it.
I love that. So
an example I love to give with this is if I'm like knocking out my to-do list just on a typical day in my office and it's nice outside, I will take a blanket and I will set it out outside on my lawn, and I'll bring crystals out there, and I'll bring my spa sprays and my essential oils, and I'll kind of set up this like beautiful little nook outside on the grass. And then I will take my computer and take my to-do list out there and like do the same thing, right? I'm like being really productive, but I'm feminizing it. I'm putting kind of a feminine spin on it. So I'm also, feeling the wind on my face and just like feeling so supported by the universe and so like excited to be alive while also getting stuff done in my business.
Wow, that sounds wonderful. I should try it actually.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just one example. You can really get creative with it. Like just really asking yourself, and a great way to use play as well. So you can kind of substitute play for feminine as well. It's like, how do I make this more fun? How do I play with this more?
Nice. I love it. As a fellow coach, you know how important it is to give our clients a little push when they doubt themselves. What would you say to our listeners who are almost ready to launch their businesses but still find excuses to postpone?
So a couple things here. I would say writing down all of those excuses and really understanding the belief underneath those excuses. So maybe the belief is, a common one that I see is the belief that I am not educated enough to start. Like I don't have enough formal education, I don't have enough certifications, whatever that is. So the thing that someone might write down is that they're not ready or their website isn't finished or whatever that is. And really the belief underneath is I am not educated enough to provide value to people. So, and it's really just a matter of doing that excavation, like going deeper, like what is the belief, and then rewriting the belief. So that's a great just like go-to activity so that you can go a little deeper than just what's coming up for you on the surface level, because there's always a deeper reason behind why you're procrastinating, behind why you're not actually following through with your plans and your goals. So that's a great activity. And then I would also say, this is so simple, and I know everyone says this, but like just do something. Take a small action step.
Yeah, the first step.
Taking the first step and breaking that down. One of my favorite coaches that I follow, her name is Brooke Castillo. And
oh my God, I love her. She's amazing.
You love her too? Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
She's like one of my biggest inspirations for sure. And she talks about really breaking down a goal or an intention. So she gives this great example that says, okay, let's say you want to go to the gym, but the thought of going to the gym is like super intimidating. Like you're like, I don't feel like going to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym. So breaking that down, like what's the first thing that you would do to get ready to go to the gym? You would put on your workout clothes. You'd put on your shoes. You'd find your car keys. You'd get in the car. You'd turn the car on. You'd drive to the gym. You'd walk in the class. So you just break down like what are those little things that can feel like, okay, I can do that. And then once you've accomplished that little thing, you're like, all right, that wasn't that bad. I can do this now. I can do this now. So I think that's huge, is just really breaking those goals down into teeny, tiny steps, even minute enough that you might feel like embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, this is such a tiny thing, but that's not really the point. The point is building the momentum and building the confidence in yourself to follow through on what you say you're going to do.
Building the momentum, I love that. Taylor, you're amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for the work that you do in the world. I'm looking forward to having more conversations together.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun. You asked great questions, and I'm really excited just to get a chance to connect with your audience.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like it and subscribe to the Simplify Your Life podcast if you don't want to miss out on my weekly episodes. If you have any requests for future guests on the show, let me know in the comments below. I love you guys, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.